Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. As some of you may know, I'm working on another preset pack for Serum, so I wanted to take the opportunity today to show you how I develop a lead sound. So this is the project that I have for us today. Just simple kick and bass for now. There's some other sequences that I made and stuff like that. But today I just want to focus on kind of like a melodic lead that you can use to just add a little bit of extra melody to some parts of your drop. So I want to start off with just making the tone for it. And the way that I've been doing it lately is just using one of the default wavetables, just a random one basically. Something that is not the traditional saw wave, so that you have something that is a little bit more interesting. This one seems to have a lot of movement. Maybe towards the end there is a place where there's a little bit less movement. I would like something that moves a little bit less. So maybe this one here. I like that. So what I'll do is to create a lead sound, I'll just have a little bit of movement in here. That is going to give it a little bit of a pluck. So this is going to be our basic tone to start off with, and I also want to add some kind of a filter to it. Let's start with a classical low-pass filter. And we can see if we can add some kind of cool modulation to it, maybe like a slow movement up and down. Let's try this with a sine wave. Of course, it's too low now, but the idea is that there's going to be other modulations eventually on this filter as well. Now, before we continue, I do quickly want to say that if you enjoy these videos, make sure that you're liking them and that you're subscribed. Also, if you want to support me financially, check out my products on Gumroad or my Patreon page. For the products on Gumroad, seeing as this is a preset video, I want to say that there's already 2 packs available for you to download. So if you're interested in having some presets for Psytrance, make sure to check those out. With that being said, let's get back into the video. What I also want to do is I want to make this mono, because we're going to make a mono lead, and I want this to be able to glide. And I also want to set the pitch bend. These are very important things when you're making presets, is that you set up these things already together with stuff like the macros and modulation and all of that stuff. You want the sound to be immediately playable, and the person that is using the preset should not have to spend any time actually setting up things like pitch bend range and stuff like that, because that's the whole idea of a preset. So I just came up with a quick melody that we can use. Obviously, we cannot really hear it now because of the filter being so low. So let's make a few extra modulations that we can use. What I probably want to do is I want this modulation to be a little bit higher. And this is going to be our standard modulation. What I also like to do is allow the user to actually take over one of those main modulations, usually on the filter. And in order to do that, we're going to use the mod wheel, and I'm going to allow this to open up completely. And then we'll use some kind of second modulation, maybe with a little bit of extra attack here. And we'll also use that for our automatic modulation. And then you get something like that. Now what we want to do is we want to make it so that the mod wheel can actually override these 2 other modulations, so that using the mod wheel you can make your own kind of filter movement. I set up the mod wheel right here as an auxiliary source, and then I invert both of these, and then you set them to 99, which means that as soon as this goes up, both of these modulations are completely turned off. You can hear that these 2 modulations no longer influence what is happening to the filter cutoff until you turn the mod wheel back down, and then the automatic modulation takes over again. So now let's add some effects. I first want a little bit of strong distortion here. Maybe we'll go with the diode. I'll turn the mix back a little bit because I don't want it to be too aggressive. And then we can add some stereo width. Maybe we'll set it to re-trigger, and we'll also add the dimension. Something like that. What might be cool is to add a little bit of release to this patch. So I'm just going to elongate all 3 of the releases. One of the important things is that you give enough release to both of these envelopes for the modulation to actually finish. You want this release to be the shortest of the 3, so that these modulations actually have time to play out throughout the whole release stage of this envelope, because obviously this envelope is tied to the amp of the whole synth. Let's turn this down a bit. What might be cool is to reintroduce a little bit of extra drive when the filter cutoff goes below. So the way that you're going to do that is something like this. And that means that the drive kind of works inversely from the filter cutoff. reintroducing some of the higher frequencies that you're losing with the filter cutoff going down. We can smoothen this out with some multiband compression. I'm just going to get very long timings so that it really just acts like a leveler. And the cool thing that you can do is imprint this amp envelope on the gain here so that you restore some of those dynamics afterwards. So this is going to be our basic sound. Now what we need to do is we need to set the 4 macros here. And the way that I'm going to do that is first, one of the important macros that I always add is the ambience. So we're going to set up something like this. I'm going to determine how much delay and reverb I want. I also want to set timings. So let's go with a kind of standard timing for Psytrance, which is 1/8 dotted. And we'll set this to ping pong. This being a lead, we don't really need that long of a reverb. What we do need is a little bit of extra feedback, and I want this to really only affect the high frequencies like this. I've made some space for that so that this reverb is going to be on the mid-range frequencies most of the time, and then this obviously takes on the higher frequencies. Now what I would like to try is to layer this in. Usually for layers, something like a standard saw wave works really well. I'm going to give it some detune, and we'll just tie this to a macro. And then obviously this goes through the filter as well. And now we need to add some stuff to these 2 macros that really help adding movement and tonal changes to the lead sound. One of the easiest ways to do that is either through the warp or changing the wavetail position, which here we have the possibility to do. This seems to turn up the kind of brightness of it. What I also would want to do is maybe make it a little bit more gritty, which you can do with the bend, because that squeezes all of those little peaks a little bit closer together. And we should definitely name these. So this is going to be layer. This is going to be brightness. And then this is going to be ambience. Now this is all really cool. We have some tonal control, but where we are really lacking is some kind of creative effect. What we can do is set up a basic glitch effect with the chorus. So I'm going to enable the chorus. I've set this to high frequencies by clicking right here. And then you just turn up the feedback. And what we want to do is we want to randomly change the depth here. Let's set this to the middle. And then let's set this to bipolar so that it really only acts around this kind of point from basically here to here. Maybe we want this to be a little bit more. What might also be cool is to set something up like this, which just changes it over time as well. So now you get that really kind of cool glitchy effect from that. And we can also maybe make this random as well. We'll use the second randomizer for that. And this is just going to go up all the way to the top here. So you get some really glitchy, cool stuff there. The cool thing is that you just need one macro assignment for all of the glitch effects that is happening within here. And everything else is already controlled by all of the parameters that we've used. Finally, let's do some cleanup. I'll use an EQ right here to just remove the lower frequencies. What I'm lacking a little bit is a little bit of extra movement in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to a peak. And this is just going to be like a nice broad peak. And we'll have this kind of oscillate here. We can use the second LFO here, which we haven't used yet. And this is just going to be like a very slow, maybe 2-bar kind of movement up and down. Obviously, this lead is not meant to be played like a sequence like that, but that gives you an idea of the movement going up and then back down again. Maybe we want a little bit more of that. Let's just increase the gain a little bit. That's nice. I do really like the sound that we've got here. What I want to show you finally is how I kind of finalize the preset, there's really only two things that I do. I enter my name, and then I enter a small description here. This is probably the best way to do that. And then one important thing that many people forget is because this mod wheel doesn't have a label and it is being used as a modulation, it's a good idea to write here exactly what the mod wheel is doing. Equals filter. And in this case, you just know that with the mod wheel, you have individual control over the filter itself. Then I set all of the macros to the lowest point. I don't really like when the sound is already ready. In terms of preset usage, the way that I see it is that you get the basic sound. In this case, without the ambience, it's going to sound a little bit boring. But it is up to the user to dial in exactly what they want. If I already give you preset values for all of these, you're immediately going to use all of those preset values, and everybody that uses the preset is going to have those same preset values. So in this case, you're really forced to control it yourself and find the right positions for everything, because dry, this is not going to sound great. So I just saved it under this Lush plug name. When it comes to preset names, I like to have a descriptive name. I am really bad at coming up with other names for it, so just finding a description that works for the sound is the easiest for me. But with the preset finished, that means that this is the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed this sound design session and that you learned something from it. Let me know if you did by leaving a like, and if you're new here, make sure that you subscribed. But that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.